Okay, guys, we are live. We're off the mark. Apologies, we're a little bit late this morning. Technical problems, and as Hatham says, Zoom's just been having a real bad time this morning. But we fixed it. We sussed it out in the end with my amazing tech support team at Media Savvy HQ. We got there in the end, guys. So finally, welcome back. We're in week 10 of our level 1 course, where we're looking at understanding and trying to overcome some health and well-being barriers between fitness, obviously exercise, good food, and all of that sort of thing as well. Just so we can be a little bit more consistent with our sort of moving towards our goals and our behaviors, because our behaviors, we're trying to change them a little bit at a time in a small, manageable way. And of course, the aim is that they're going to be consistent and they will last across time, giving your body a chance to change as well. So yeah, we are rolling straight back in this morning, and we're making it a little bit more about ourselves this week. I know we've talked a lot about theory so far. We've talked a lot about when we've looked at body types and stuff like that, we might have looked at other like athletes and stuff like that, who are really if you think about it, quite an extreme example of fitness or being fit, because they are professionals. They're professionals, and really a lot of what they are doing, and the way that they're training, it wouldn't be right for us. We wouldn't necessarily need to be training like that. Some of us outright probably shouldn't be training like that as well. So we are all different, and we all need different things, and it's all too easy to pick up a Men's Health magazine and say, oh, is the Rock's full body workout that he does 3 times a week, I'm going to do that. He's of course, he's got the diet behind it. He's got a team of chefs. He's got the best rest and recovery in between, and the best supplements to help him out. Of course, he's thinking about his physique is almost pretty much what he's known for these days as well. So it's that statement as well. It's the image. And for us, we don't need to worry about all of that stuff. We don't need to worry about, are we 9% body fat or 10% body fat? The majority of us don't need to be thinking about photo shoots and cameras pointing at us all day long and stuff like that. And like I say, from my experience, most of us don't have, like I say, access to the home gym and the personal chef that'll come and cook all your meals and stuff like that. We're all individual, we're all unique, and the way that we need to look at and improve our own fitness is totally different. And looking at what somebody else is doing, especially a fitness personality, it can be inspirational and motivational. That's really good that you might see somebody's workout and think, oh, do you know what, I'd love to, have a go at that, or, I wish I'm going to use this person's physique or whatever as inspiration and work towards it. At the end of the day, our circumstances sort of let us go so far. Like I've mentioned before, I realized a long time ago, I can lift weights 5 days a week and have all the protein in the world. I'm never going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I from then stepped back and said, okay, if I'm never going to be big, what do I want to focus on? And that was the likes of endurance, good movement patterns and stuff like that, making sure like flexibility, so I'm not just tight and stiff all the time, especially through lockdown when there's been a lot more sort of sitting down, and I've been a lot more sort of sedentary, I guess, less active than sort of pre-lockdown and pre-COVID. So that was me again. I'll fully admit, when I first got into exercising, I wasn't qualified as a PT, and I was getting into the gym, and I just copied what other people were doing because, I didn't really know what I was doing myself. And I actually ended up working on aspects and components of fitness that don't really interest me. I'm not like, I'm all for functional strength, and I like to be able to like get the box onto the top shelf when I need to and stuff like that. But the idea of putting 200, 300 kilograms on a bar and doing whatever with it, it's never really stood out to me, just doing it because I can. So again, we all have different priorities. We all want, the word fitness means something different to all of us. To some of us, it's being able to do like a triathlon, or training for the Great North Run. Other people want to be fit as in, they want to be confident, maybe sort of with their clothes off, even in their own skin, not necessarily for somebody else, but other people might want to be confident in their own skin. Other people might just want that level of fitness where, you know, they can get up the stairs without getting out of breath, or they can play with the grandkids when they come round and not need to keep sitting down every 5 minutes. So again, we're thinking about what fitness means to you, and how we can then improve our own fitness as well, because like I say, what's right for one person isn't right for somebody else as well. So unfortunately, there's no sort of one size fits all answer on how to best improve our own fitness. So let's get into it then, guys. And as always, before we do properly sink our teeth in, I just want to point towards the description box underneath the YouTube video, where you'll find any extra information that you might need, including a link to today's survey. My email, as always, is in there. Any workbooks that you might need, links to our social media pages, and any extra sort of supplementary learner info that you might need as well. You know, learner handbook, the way that Media Savvy do stuff, and all of that sort of things there as well. So yeah, that's the description box under the YouTube video. With that out the way, let's get into it then. So a little bit of a recap from last week before we move on any further. We've looked at, in the name of being consistent, so kind of like we're doing this morning, we looked at making sure that we're exercising in a way that is safe for us and people around us, and how we could work on some sort of hazard identification skills, you know, where we could pick up potential hazards and risks in different workplaces and different environments, you know, which is always a handy skill to have. Of course, we looked at the importance of a warm-up and a cool-down and what we could do for each. We talked about the importance of a PAR-Q in making sure that the sort of the client has had a chance to disclose everything, you know, their needs, their abilities, all of that sort of thing. And it also protects the instructor as well. And then, of course, we finished up last week's session by running through sort of like a basic gym induction, the sort of things that you might expect to, or the sort of information you might expect to be told or to find out on your induction as well. So if any of those are sort of standing out like, oh, you know, I'd like to go back and revisit that, by all means do go and check out last week's session again. And like I say, this week we are looking at personal skills and qualities that we can have that will help us keep on track with our day-to-day goals and our fitness goals as well. So stuff like time management, yeah, in order to make sure we can get as much out of the day as we need to. We're talking about fitness ready clothing that we might need. Yeah, so making sure that we are ready for fitness, making sure that we've got the right clothes, you know. Like I say, if you're going swimming, do you need some different kit? If you're doing some running, what do you need to be thinking about? If you're going to the gym, is that different stuff? You know, and talking about some of those things that we might need. And an important skill that I think is really, really handy to have and always work on, because it's always a skill that always needs sort of refining. It's this idea of self-reflection and being able to look at yourself in an analytical way and think, okay, where's my strengths? Where's my weaknesses? You know, how much do I want to lean into my strengths to build my confidence? And how much do I also want to sort of lean into my weaknesses and try and improve them? You know, it's kind of part of the point of identifying our weaknesses is so we can do something to improve them in, you know, whatever aspect that might be. And of course, like I say, that last bullet point, or the last two, improving on your own strengths. So take your own strengths and build on them. And like I say, build your confidence, but then identify the areas as well where you feel that you do need to improve otherwise as well. You know, for me, certainly coming into lockdown and after like the first lockdown, halfway through the first lockdown, I just realized like a bit of self-reflection. I was like, I'm just so tight, like my hamstrings are tight, my lower back's tight from sitting down all day, you know, being on the computer all day instead of like being in the gym. So yeah, that was a big sort of turning point for me, because a lot of my training changed after that. You know, I moved into doing yoga and thinking about that a lot more, and the mindfulness side of things, and again thinking about those good movement patterns. I've actually exercised for what, I mean, when was first lockdown? 18 months ago, maybe it's a little bit longer. Using nothing but resistance bands and cardio, you know, guys. So again, thinking about our own circumstances, what we're good at, what we're not good at, what would we like to improve, and sort of moving forward from there. So to start us off, like I say, talking about some different skills that can really help you in the gym and in different aspects of life as well, potentially work, relationships as well, which of course, again, we've realized over the last 18 months, relationships require work as well. And, you know, that social side of things is so important to us as human beings. So we've got to cherish our relationships that we have. So guys, when it comes to a little bit of time management, we're thinking about how can we make the most out of our time? How can we make sure that we achieve everything that we set out to achieve in a day? You know, can you give yourself a little bit of an idea how long should this take? Like I say, potentially even could somebody else take this over? You know, again, if we're working with a team of people, could you say, all right, you work on this, I'll work on that? You know, like a little bit of delegation. So, like I say, these would come in handy in different areas, potentially even if you're working in the health and fitness sort of section as well. You know, and we'll get on to some examples of that in just a little bit. So yeah, this idea of just day-to-day time management. We're going to start from a place of probably, you know, looking at those options that we got there. I think I probably would start from a place of goal setting. So what would I like to achieve today? What would I like to get done, or what do I need to get done first and foremost? Which would lead on to the next one, which is a little bit of prioritizing what needs doing first, what's most important. And I'll do that sort of quite a lot. You know, I'll save reminders on my phone, and you know, I'll different levels for what's more urgent. You might have a little to-do list that you start every day, and you might just start with the most important and work your way down. It might just all be mental. Like I say, you might just keep it in your head. You might have an idea of what you need to do, in what order, what's really important that it's done by the end of the day, what could maybe wait till tomorrow if you do end up running out of time. Yeah, so this idea of prioritizing what needs doing first, and what's most important. So those are my first two steps. From there, it always opens up a little bit, because we could do a little bit of decision making as well. You know, we've got to be decisive, especially when it comes to prioritizing and goal setting. A little bit of decision making. We've got to be decisive. You know, what is most important today? Okay, I've figured out this is the most important. How am I going to achieve it? You know, this decision making. You need to commit to, maybe get a bit of a plan in your head and commit to how you're going to do it. You know, if you're not so sure on it and you're a little bit indecisive, you might get halfway through doing it one way, might change your mind and you want to do it another way, and you've got to start again. It can actually end up costing you more time. You know, it's the idea, it's a saying, you know, in a lot of manual sort of labor jobs, particularly in like woodwork and anything where you're cutting and putting stuff together, it's this idea of measure twice, cut once. That's what they say. If you measure everything twice and double check everything, you've only got to cut it once, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and materials. If you only measure something once, you might get halfway through and realize, okay, this is wrong, I've got to start again. So having a clear idea what you're going to do before you really start, and that, like I say, being decisive and being confident in your decisions can set you off on a really good start and on a really good path. You might need to do a little bit of delegating. Like I say, you might need to, is there anybody else who is supposed to be helping you or who could be helping you? You know, like, again, when I was working in the gym, if me and one of the other lads only had, like, if we happened to find an hour, or it might be, look, do you know what, the toilets, like the toilet floor needed mopping in the toilets, and I had an hour free, and I would say, okay, I'll go and do that then. I'll go and do that. But when you have an hour free after your next client, when I'm busy, I need you to take care of this, this, and this. And, you know, a little bit of working together as a team, and like I say, sort of outlining some of that work onto other people where appropriate. Maybe, you know, you get other people to do stuff that's less important, lower priority, so you can focus on the higher priority stuff, and you know, make sure it's done the way that it needs to be done, or the way that you want it done. And like I say, a little bit of delegation again can save you a little bit of time. No point you sort of struggling to do everything when there's other people around you that are maybe capable of doing these other little tasks as well. Maybe it's a little bit of multitasking we might need to do. It's definitely not a strong point of mine. I can focus wholly on one thing, and I'm not very good at multitasking at all. That's why I need to make a conscious effort to sort of step back and take a look at the chat every now and then and keep up with that. And multitasking, not really a strong point of mine. Good thing I can task, because multitasking isn't really up my street. Depending on what it is, though, there's certain things where, again, it kind of links into home life and day-to-day life, but fitness as well. Could be a little bit of multitasking, like when we're cooking. A little bit of multitasking. You've got you might have your pasta on the hob and it's boiling, and you've got to keep going back and stirring it, but on the side maybe it's getting your tuna ready or your chicken ready or whatever you're going to have with your pasta, and that's multitasking. You're doing a couple of things at once, I've seen people that can do that and they're on the phone at the same time, and I just like it blows my mind the amount of multitasking that some people can do. But yeah, even just a little bit like that can save you a little bit of time, rather than sort of stand there and wait for the pot for your pan to boil and your pasta to be done before you move on to other bits. It's the idea of multitasking. If you can do a couple of things at once, it can be really helpful in speeding you up a little bit. My problem with multitasking is that I get a little bit of a tangent. I get distracted by one thing too much. So I'll be like halfway through the washing up, and I'm like, right, I'll leave those pots and pans to soak, and I'll come back in 10 minutes and finish that. I'm going to go whip the hoover around. I'll go whip the hoover around, and I just totally forget that I've started anything else. So there's like odd jobs around the house that have been half started. But like I say, multitasking in general in itself, it really can help you out a little bit. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, let's be honest. Same as anything. And then the last one, guys, the last one that we've got on there is problem solving. You're going to come across obstacles potentially in the decision-making phase, potentially while you are multitasking, and there might be a little bit of problem solving required. You might need to think on your feet a little bit. You might need to just take the initiative a little bit. There might not be anybody to ask, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? Sometimes you might be sort of needing to sort of use a bit of your own intuition and sort of think on your feet a little bit. But there's lots of different areas, I guess, and lots of different sections to this idea of time management and making sure that we're managing our tasks, whatever they may be, as efficiently sort of as we can be. Now I'll be quite interested, actually, guys, if you guys can think of any more or do think of any more. Definitely do let me know if there's any more sort of aspects of time management that you can think about. So let's have a little bit of a think then, guys. So how can day-to-day time management be applied to your own fitness journey? Yeah, so how can these sort of ideas and these concepts that we've just been talking about, how can they apply to getting fit, getting active, eating better? What do we think? So I've already mentioned, a little bit of multitasking can go a long way when it comes to, like I say, even just doing your meal prep and stuff like that. It can be, you might get all your food ready to go and be cooking, and you might need to wash all your Tupperware out from the last time it was done. You can set your food away, wash that out. By the time your food's done, your Tupperware is ready for your new food to go in, straight in the fridge and the freezer, and job's a good one, rather than sort of stand there, watch your food cook, stirring it every 2 seconds when it doesn't need it, and then afterwards, once the food's done, you've then got to stand and do all the washing up as well, so it can really help out with food. Multitasking, I guess, to an extent, we can use the same sort of approach a little bit in our fitness as well, so instead of doing, just for example, 10 chest press on the machine, what you might do 10 chest press, sit around for a couple of minutes and recover, do another 10 on the chest press, sit around and recover. You might do 3 lots of 10 with a couple of minutes in between. Then you might start doing a pulling movement. You might start to do some pulls on a different machine. You do 10, you sit and you rest. A couple of minutes goes by, you do your next set. And a couple of minutes is passing in between each set. So you're kind of fresh and ready to go for your next set, but you're spending probably a lot more time actually sat around waiting to recover and do your exercise than you are actually exercising at that point. And your gym sessions might be taking you an hour and a half, which is again, eating into our time that we might need to be at home cooking our food. It might be thinking about more stuff that we find enjoyable, which is part of our journey as well, spending time with family, friends. If you're at the gym all night because you're spending like a couple of minutes between every exercise recovering, we could try and do ourselves like a circuit or something like that. So you could do like, using that for as an example, you could do a pushing exercise, but then go straight into the pulling exercise afterwards, what we call a superset. So you do a push, you do one exercise into another, so you're working, but you're working different muscles. So your chest from that pushing movement is still getting the same amount of rest as it would do if you were sitting, but you're not sitting, you work in a different muscle group entirely. So you're still working, you're still active. So then when you get to the end of your 3 pushing sets, you've done your pulling sets as well. You don't then need to go and start a whole new exercise. And that approach is actually really effective for training as well, because not only does it speed you up, it reduces your rest time. It reduces time for your heart rate to come back down and for you to get to that sort of pre-exercise sort of state again. So multitasking in the sense of in the gym, doing a couple of exercises sort of not at once, because we're not like some one-man band that's going to squat and overhead press and all of that at the same time. And try and bicep curl and overhead extension and whatever, you'd hurt yourself. But, thinking about, okay, multitasking, jumping between sort of jobs, trying to do them simultaneously, can apply to our fitness as well and our actual training in the gym as well. Coming back to that last note, there are certain exercises, again, that are different exercises combined. You might have one exercise that's a squat, you might have another exercise that's an overhead press, you might have a third exercise which is a squat straight into an overhead press, and you're doing it all as one movement. Again, a little bit of multitasking. Yeah, so you're doing those 2 exercises in the same movement. Yeah. It's going to change up the sort of effect that the exercise is going to have on your body a little bit. But again, when we're thinking about time management, can we save ourselves some time? That's not the end of the world. Like, doing it that way is so much more effective if that means that we get home in time to do our meal prep, have a good tea, get a good like an hour to wind down before bed with no screens, and then get a good solid night's sleep. That's so much more important than I need to isolate my shoulders, I can't be doing them with my legs, for whatever reason. So multitasking is a massive one that really helps us squeeze a lot more out of our time, particularly in the gym. But like I say, it applies elsewhere as well, especially in things like our food prep as well. Okay then, guys. So how can some more of these be applied to our fitness journey? So delegation, again, it's a little bit of a difficult one, because our own fitness journey is kind of our own responsibility. It's our own journey. Only we can sort of be at the helm. Only we can be the captain. But at the same time, delegation, it might be things like, maybe you're at a point where you need a little bit of help with chopping food and preparing things and holding knives, and especially when it's hard foods and when the meal prep takes that little bit longer, maybe you need a little bit of a hand with that. And there's family or friends that you can maybe ask, maybe get the kids involved. At the same time, it's a little bit more. I don't know if it would count as strict delegation, but putting it into other people's hands. There's companies out there that will actually prep your meals for you and send them to you. It takes that off your hands a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of delegation again can save you time. Nobody can do the workout for you. Nobody can do the exercise for you. It'd be lovely if I could say it to somebody. If I could say it to my missus, I'd be like, Alex, my hamstrings is quite tight. Will you just go and have a little stretch off, and loosen my hamstring? That's not how it works. It'd be nice if it did. But there are certain ways that we can put our progress partially in the hands of somebody else. You could get a personal trainer. Bring a personal trainer on board. That's a form of like, okay, you plan my sessions and I will just do the sessions and eat the right food. It's sort of making that somebody else's responsibility a little bit as well. Sometimes you're in a position where you can delegate and it's not going to cost you. Of course, things like that and personal training and getting somebody else to cook your own healthy meals, that would come with sort of like an attached cost as well. But that idea can save us time, and sometimes saving time, is more important. Might end up in the position where we actually have the money to afford it, and we'd much rather have the time. So, each to their own. Goal setting. Goal setting is an absolutely massive one as well. Goal setting is a big one when it comes to our own fitness. Of course, we need to know where we're going. You need to have a destination. If you don't have a destination, you're just moving. If I was to get in the car and start driving without a destination, well, I'm just a guy that's driving, aren't I? So thinking about where do you want to end up, being quite specific, and this is again where it becomes specific to ourselves as well. What are your goals? What's important to you? Because that'll then help you decide this prioritizing stage. If you're goal setting and you want to be more flexible, just for example, you want to be more flexible, and you've got to prioritize, okay, stretching, lifting weights, cardio. If your main goal is to be more flexible, the thing that should be highest priority would be stretching, and making sure that we're getting more flexible. This goal setting can really help us map out our plan of attack. It's our first step on our plan of attack, because, like I say, if we don't know where we're going, we don't know what direction to move in or what's going to be most effective to get there. So yeah, a little bit of goal setting and thinking about, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to improve your muscular endurance, your muscular strength? Do you want to work on your body composition, and lose a couple of pounds, be a little bit more defined? There's lots of different goals that we might have, and like I say, getting a good solid goal or two can really help us decide which direction we're going to go. And again, that links in with decision making again a little bit as well, I guess. What's most important to you fitness wise? You might want to work on a couple of things. Okay, what's most important to you right now? What you're going to work on first, because we've mentioned before, if we're trying to work on all of these different areas and get faster, get stronger, more endurance so we can last longer, more flexible, it's impossible to work on all of these things at the same time. So if we take that little bit longer, but actually focus on just one or two at a time and really focus on them, those will actually start to come together a lot quicker, and then you can move on to the next thing. You're better off spending a year doing 3 months and 4 different things than 1 year trying to do a little bit of everything without any focus, really. So again, if we're trying to manage our time and get the most out of our time, prioritizing, decision making, a good bit of goal setting as well. And then the last one on there that we've got to talk about, problem solving. We'd mentioned before, you might, in day-to-day life, it might be something like you go to use the printer and the printer's knackered, out of ink. Problem solving and a little bit of decision making. What are you going to do? Are you going to go to the library and print off print a copy there? Are you going to go out and try and buy another cartridge of ink? Do you have family or friends that you can go to? Which 3 of those options makes most sense to you and is most achievable? Like I say, a little bit of decision making, a little bit of problem solving. In fitness, it can be something as simple as you go to the shops and the thing that you normally buy, the brand that you normally buy, or the item that you normally get is sold out. What do you do then? Are you capable of picking up foods from a shelf and looking at the food label on the back and making an informed decision which is closest to the thing that you went to get but can't get? Same again in the gym. You might go to jump on the one chest press machine that the gym has. You've got a little bit of decision making where you've got to think to yourself, okay, do I hang about and wait for that machine to be free? Do I change my training plan round and do something that I was going to do later in the session? Do I do that earlier and then come back to this exercise later? Or do I speak to them and say, look, can I do my set while you're resting, or whatever. There's lots of different ways that you could deal with that situation. What you could do, and what I used to do quite a lot, again in the name of saving time and keeping my clients moving, if I went to go on the chest press machine and somebody was on it, I'd say, like, right, come with me, we're going to go and do something that has the same effect on the body, hits the same muscles. So I might have had them doing either a bench press, so they're not on the machine, they're just on the bench with the bar that they unhook, bring it down to their chest, like you see people doing. It could be press-ups, because that works the same muscle group as well. And I used to have to do that quite a lot, actually, because in a gym, when you're working in a gym, like, or in the gym in general, I guess, really, they tend to have a lot of kit, but like only one of something, like only one of each. So I remember we had the kettlebells as well. We had kettlebells, so we had like, what was it? I think it was 6s, 12s, 24s, 36s, or whatever they were. These were pairs of kettlebells. And I wanted one client to do like a goblet squat, so with the kettlebell into his chest and just doing a squat on the spot. I wanted him to do those with the 24 kilogram. And somebody was using both of the 24 kilogram kettlebells. So I'm thinking to myself, do I do something else? Is there any way I can do a similar sort of exercise, but without that bit of kit that I need? So what I did, I got the 212s. Instead of 124, I picked up the 212s, which were there, and said, right, we're going to change it around a little bit. Instead of holding one kettlebell into your chest, you're going to hold two kettlebells by your side and balance that weight out a little bit. So they were still doing like lunges or squats or whatever it was with 24 kilograms, but it was just done in a little bit of a different way. So again, a little bit of problem solving. How do you work around that in the name of it not taking up a load of time? How do we solve it? But how do we solve it? The quicker the better, isn't it? When we're talking about time management, time is the one resource that we'll never get back. We can always make money back. We will never get time back, guys. So we're being smart with our time, and trying to get the most out of our fitness journey, because time is a massive barrier that I've heard people mention over and over again as my time as a personal trainer. Did you get to the gym over the weekend? Oh, I didn't have time, or did you do that bit of cardio at the end of your workout yesterday? Oh, I did the workout, but I ran out of time to do my cardio. I had to leave and pick the kids up, So yeah, just being that little bit more, like I say, just trying to squeeze as much out of our time as possible, and not let it get in the way of our goals and stuff like that. And hopefully, as we start to get into our fitness journey and we start to hopefully see some results and feel a little bit better, hopefully, like I say, a lot of the exercise side of things and the fitness side of things starts to move up our priority list, because we do actually start to see the benefit of it. And you end up, potentially getting the bug where, like, you might be disappointed if you don't wake up sore the next day and stuff like that, where it starts to become like a real priority to you. It happens quite a lot. I've had it, again, thinking about priorities in the sense of where you're spending money as opposed to where you're spending your time, but prioritizing nonetheless. Like I say, clients used to say to me, oh, I ran out of time to come to the gym yesterday and do that session that you gave for us. So I would give it like 10 minutes. I'd be like, oh, okay, then never mind. 10 minutes later, I'd say, did you catch Game of Thrones this week? They're like, oh yeah, I watched it I watched it last night. It was really good, wasn't it? I'd be like, well, I'm all for a little bit of rest and relaxation. I like a good binge, and I love Game of Thrones as much as anybody. But at the same time, it's priorities. What's more important to you as a priority? Is it sitting and watching this week's must-see TV, or is it that you could record anyway, or is it, getting the fitness and the exercise and the well-being sort of stuff done and part of a routine for you? So again, when it comes to priorities, again, those same clients would get 3 months into a program even, and little things like, oh Rob, I can only come and train at like 9 o'clock Monday night. And I'm like, well, that's when Game of Thrones is on. It's like, I'll just record it. And like, you start to see that shift in people's mindsets when you get into a bit of a routine. And like I say, once you start to pick up on the benefits of it and feel and see the benefits of it, You know, it can soon shoot up your priority list as well. You know, again, thinking about the money side of things, I would say to people, or when I was speaking to them about personal training, can you do one session a week? You know, can you do one session a week? And to some people, that was fine. To some people, it was like no, I can't afford that much right now. I've got a budget. Of course, finances go elsewhere. Money's a little bit tight, or whatever it might be. So they would start on one session a month. Say, for example, they do one session a month, £25 instead of 100. Just for example, chucking some numbers out there, and you know, start to get some results slowly, though, slowly. So they start to get these results, and then all of a sudden, I've had people come up to me and say, "Right, Rob, I want to do one a week with you now." And I'm like, well, it's only been a couple of months. What's changed? And it turns out that because they're on this fitness journey now, they're not going out drinking on a weekend and, you know, potentially even paying for new outfits, new shoes, new handbag, new dress to wear out on a weekend. They're not eating as much junk food. They're not getting as many takeaways. So that money is there. They're just prioritizing what they're spending it on, because beforehand, the takeaways and the nights out was a higher priority. Which you know is totally fine at a point. We just need to work around and get to the point where our fitness is a priority as well. Not necessarily more important than enjoying ourselves and being happy and social, but you know, we need to make sure that we are getting those things in and making those as much of a priority as, you know, the new season that's out on Netflix, or you know, the match that's on at the weekend, or the new movie that's out, or whatever it might be. You know, so again, prioritizing, guys, it's a really important part of this sort of fitness journey. Okay, then let's spin it on then. So, thinking about trying to be ready to work out. What do you need? Depending on your chosen activity, you might need certain footwear or certain clothing. Some fitness activities need less than others. So here's some of the kit that we might need, of course, for different sports activities. We've got, of course, we want to make sure that we've got suitable clothing. You know, we want to make sure that we've got the right sort of attire on. You know, for example, if you're going, you know, maybe you've only ever exercised in a gym or done it as part of a sports team or whatever, you know. And again, thinking back to lockdown last year and the start of this year, a lot of people had to get into walking, you know, which maybe it wasn't so bad when the first lockdown kicked in, because I mean, like, it felt like the weather was quite nice. Ironically, right after the first lockdown kicked in, it felt like it got quite warm and quite pleasant. And then winter came round, and a lot of people who had been walking through the summer in t-shirts and shorts, all of a sudden were facing rain and snow and ice, and it got and wind. And, you know, people were needing to potentially go out and invest in, you know, waterproofs, walking boots, gloves, hat, scarf, whatever it might be, and making sure that they had suitable clothing to keep them protected, keep them warm. You know, and again, that can apply to so many different things. Of course, it's on there as its own sort of entry. But if you were going swimming, you need a swimming cozy. You know, that was something that I hadn't really had to stop and consider for a long time, because I've always had swimming trunks. I've always liked swimming. I've always sort of with my scuba diving and sort of just swimming as a hobby. I've always spent a lot of time in the water. So for me, it wasn't anything that I needed to think about. And remember when me and Alex first got together, I booked us a weekend away, and I was like, I told her the day before, I was like, pack your swimming cozy, because the place where we're going's got a swimming pool. She's like, Rob, I don't have a swimming cozy. I don't have one. I haven't had one for a long time. So we went on a hunt in November to try and find a swimming cozy, which actually proved harder than you might think. But again, you know, needed to think about that, and I probably should have thought about that a little bit sooner, to be honest. But yeah, you know, this day and age, we could have very easily just gone online, ordered a one that would have been here the next day. But because we didn't think about it, we ended up trawling around the shops on our way to where we were going away for the weekend, trying to find her a swimming cozy. So again, just thinking ahead and making sure that we've got the right attire, you know. Again, it might be the gym. What are you doing in the gym? Are you going to be doing a lot of running in the gym? You know, do you need like running footwear? Are you doing more of the weights and lifting? Do you want a flatter shoe? You know, potentially. I've had guys in the gym in flip flops. I've had to ask people to leave the gym floor because they're in flip flops, and it only takes a weight getting dropped, and you know it's essentially on the barefoot. Like, granted, a trainer isn't going to do like the most protective job in the world if you do drop a train, if you do drop a weight on it, but at the same time, like there's places for a pair of flip flops, but the gym is not one of them. So again, thinking about what's suitable and what is unsuitable, you know, and making sure that, like I say, everything is keeping us safe. And of course, other things that we might need, we've got water bottles on there. You need to stay hydrated. I've worked in gyms that do have water fountains and refills, and I've also worked in gyms that don't, where there is no water fountain. You know, you might need to take your own water bottle down, you know, and your own hydration. If you go into a fitness class, you would probably need your own water bottle, because a lot of them are done in community centres, sport halls, where, you know, they're not primarily there for exercise in the way that you're doing it. You know, there's not just a water cooler in the corner, just like there's no showers to go and jump in afterwards and stuff like that. So again, think about where you're actually exercising. Again, if you're going out walking, and if you're just going out walking, you know, on the pavements, like I'm sure a lot of us did last year, a pair of trainers will probably do you. If you were going hiking, you know, do you want some boots that are going to keep your feet warmer? Do you want sort of like a higher boot that's going to give you a bit more protection against rolling your ankle, you know, potentially? So yeah, what exactly is it that we're doing? To like another degree, a little bit further, thinking about the rock climbing. I've done like a little bit of like bouldering, rock climbing over the years that I quite enjoy doing. Again, I soon realised that going there and wearing certain clothing wasn't ideal. You know, I would go in like joggers that are quite tight, and I'd go to sort of like put my foot up and get onto the next foothold, and my leg would get there, but my joggers wouldn't. You know, so I eventually started going in either shorts, you know, potentially like sports leggings that you might see footballers wear with shorts over the top. You know, so there's what t-shirts. Yeah, I used to t-shirts, hoodies used to be all right. But same again, I started in like quite a thick hoodie, and you'd get halfway up the wall, and because you've been climbing for a couple of minutes, you'd just be so warm and overheating. You'd be like, oh, like you just want to get it off, you know. So again, just thinking about what it is that we're going to be doing specifically, you know. The group that I made up with on a Thursday, we go down to Roker, we have a little walk along the seafront, we check out the marina, we maybe go around Roker Park, we check out the harbour. And again, making sure that we've got suitable clothing on. We're on the seafront. You know, is it chilly? Is it going to be wet? Do we need waterproofs, windbreakers, stuff like that? So, as like I mentioned before, hats, scarves, gloves, making sure that we're properly kitted up for the task at hand. How long are you going for? You know, is it a quick little exercise? Is it going to take long? Is it going to take an hour or more maybe? So yeah, there's lots of different things that we might want to think about. Again, can we think of any more? It might be lifting gloves, stuff that's going to give you a bit more grip depending on what you're doing. You might need let's have a think. What else could you need? So we've got suitable clothing and footwear, which is quite broad. Water bottle, towel, swimsuit, we've said, a hat. I did just think of one. It'll come to us. Of course, yeah. A towel. I've just thought there as well. Towel is beyond just if you go and swimming. You know, if you're going swimming, yeah, you're going to need a towel to dry yourself afterwards. But if you're going to the gym to do a lot of cardio or to work quite high to the point where you're expecting to sweat, you might want a towel with you for that as well. Either wipe your machine off, wipe yourself off. Of course, living in an age where we're thinking about personal hygiene and personal space a lot more these days. You know, it's common courtesy to wipe your machine down when you're done anyway, but you might just want it for your own benefit as well. You know, like seeing the amount of sweat that used to come off some people at like spin class and stuff like that. You know, you would probably find yourself wanting or needing a towel really. So there are, guys. There's lots of different kit and lots of different things that we might need to consider depending on what it is that we're going to be potentially doing. You know, oh, that was it. It was like a weight belt. Again, if you're lifting weights and you're lifting heavy and you're trying to develop your strength, do you potentially need a weight belt to give your back that little bit more support and you know, hopefully give you a little bit more confidence and reassurance going into the exercise? You know, have you got what you need? Do you need to invest in anything? And then from there, you can look, what's it going to cost? How can I budget? Can I think in advance? You know, do I need some new leggings to go to the gym in? Because all I've got short shorts, or do I need some new trainers because all I've got sandals? You know, stuff like that. And of course, picking out what you need one step towards sort of getting where you need to be. Other things, again, you know, just thinking a little bit more niche, a little bit more outside the box. When we used to go climbing, again, we used to need to take things like a chalk bag for grip, you know, to help you hold on to stuff. It's kind of pointless going down if you've not got any chalk to help you grip, and maybe it's just even shred your hands to bits. So I need my chalk bag when I go. I need a drink. I need my climbing shoes. You know, there's like specific footwear that you would use as well. So yeah, there's a lot, and if you think of any more, holler them out in the chat, or drop us a message, or drop me an email. Can we think of any more specific sort of kit that we might need, and potentially what some of the exercise or some of the forms of fitness we could do that needs the less or needs the least kit. Okay, guys, and let's move on and talk about, like I mentioned at the start of the session, this idea of self-reflection, yeah, and being able to look at ourselves and our strengths and our weaknesses and go from there. So I'm thinking about self-reflection. Can you think of an example where you followed instructions while taking part in a fitness session? You know, it might be you know, and so like an instructor like could be an aerobics, it could be spin, it could be a circuit class. Have you followed instructions while taking part in a fitness session? Maybe it's your own fitness session and you've asked a gym member for a little bit of help, and they've told you how a machine works or showed you how a machine works or come over to give you a hand. Think of all stuff like that, setting up the equipment. Yeah. Has anybody helped you set the equipment up? Has anybody told you the rules of a particular sport? If you're playing, is there football that you're playing, netball, basketball, or whatever? And then again, following instruction, like if somebody's giving you a little bit of pointers on improving or altering your technique or your body position, you know, maybe you're doing a deadlift, but yeah, back's really arched over. Whereas, you know, someone might come over and say, push your chest out, pull your shoulder blades back, and that's following instructions. So can you think of an example where you've followed instructions taking part in any form of fitness session? Then following that, can you think of any time you followed health and safety when taking part in an activity as well? So thinking things like no running on poolside, yeah, no running near the swimming pool where the floor's wet, wearing or putting your free weights back once you're done so nobody can trip over them, yourself included. Wearing reflective clothing when you're out walking or running or cycling on an evening. You know, all of those is thinking about health and safety when taking part in these different forms of exercise and these different activities. Now that guy should enable you to, with that little bit of reflection, should be able to fill in page 6 of you taking part in the exercise and fitness booklet. So when we get to the end of the PowerPoint, I'll load up the booklet again that we're still working through, this taking part in exercise and fitness. Same one as last week, so you should already have it. If you don't, the link's in the description. And if you know you're not sure where to find it there, let me know and I'll email it across to you. So yeah, we'll get a look at that task at the end of the session where we open the workbook and we'll have a look. But yeah, just things to ponder, guys, some stuff to think on, food for thought, examples where we followed instructions in a fitness session, and times where we followed health and safety when taking part in an activity as well. Okay, then thinking about improving your own strengths. So some people are good at individual exercises such as squats, while others are more confident in particular areas like strength, endurance. Above, we've got a few random exercises or fitness activities to get you thinking. Now it's time to look at your own strengths. Yeah, so the way that we reflect on things, what activities do you enjoy? What do you enjoy doing that is activity, that is active? It could be fitness class, it could be a sport, it could even be housework. If you enjoy it, if you find it therapeutic, what activities do you enjoy? We can use those ones at the top for examples. So if we're struggling to think of certain exercises or different areas of fitness, what activities do you enjoy? Then we can think about, okay, what are your strengths in this particular activity? Yeah, so if you are good at, say you're good at, just for example, you might be good at strength in sense of, that broad area. You might be quite strong, in the sense that, you might have really strong legs. If you're thinking about what are your strengths in this particular activity, okay, I'm strong in my legs, not so much in my upper body. So then we can think about, okay, what areas do you need to work on, and how can it make you improve your performance in this activity? Yeah, so we're thinking about it. It's very end result driven, because we're thinking about, the things that we enjoy doing and would like to be good at, or just overall, the things that you might feel that you are already good at, and that might be partially why you enjoy them. But to be better at them, what do you need to work on? It's exactly the same as, a footballer is, of course, really fit, probably quite technically gifted with the ball. They might be very good defensively if they're a midfielder. And then they might say, okay, and I acknowledge that, okay, I'm good at being a midfielder. My strengths are these, I'm very good at tracking back. I'm very good at playing defensively. What areas do you need to work on, and how can it improve your performance? If you could work on your endurance, your cardiovascular endurance, you might then be able to work on, the attacking aspects of football a little bit more. So you can hone your game. You can be better defensively and going forwards. Yeah. So that would make you sort of more well-rounded within the thing that you like doing. So again, we can look at our strengths, and then we can look at the areas that we might need to work on. You hear about it all the time, like a basketballer has a rough game at free throws, or a footballer has a couple of free kicks in a game that they a promising position, but they don't make anything from. You'll sometimes see them come out at the end of the game, or you hear that they stay back later on the training pitch, practicing those specific things, just to get better at those specific things, to make their overall performance a lot better as well. So same again, we can use this to complete page 8 in that same workbook, and we'll have a look at that towards the end of the session, before we wrap up, and just have a look at these activities that we're going to be doing, which we can do in just a minute, actually. So thinking about, in fact, we'll come back to this. So we had page 6 and page 8 of the booklet. So let's get this booklet up and let's have a look. So taking part in exercise and fitness. Share screen. Taking part in exercise and fitness. There we go. Okay, guys, cool. So we did fill those in last week. We filled those in last week, pages 2 and 3. And 4, I think, actually. If we didn't do page 4, we can now do page 4 because we've talked about gym inductions and par Qs. And again, if you want to refresh, check out last week's session to recap on all of that. That same link will work. We did activities that are suitable for warm-up and a cool-down, which puts us, as we said, onto page 6. So actively participate in exercise and fitness activities and demonstrate time management, appropriate dress, following instructions, and following health and safety guidelines before, during, or after activities. So describe how you have or during exercise would demonstrate time management skills. You know, punctuality being where you're gonna, where you say you're going to be, and being there on time, for example. Yeah. B, list examples of clothing, footwear for any fitness activities you've participated in. You could, you know, just hypothesize, you know, you could just, you know, if we hadn't been in lockdown for so long and everything had been available and you'd been able to do all of these different activities, what different clothing or footwear would you need to consider, just like we've talked about today. Give 2 examples of when you have followed instructions given to you by an instructor or activity leader, and then give 1 example when you have followed health and safety guidelines. So again, just like we talked about in our slides today. Page 7 then, page 7. Page 7, you won't worry about too much. Okay, and then page 8 today is mentioned. So suggest ways of improving your own performances in one activity. Yeah, so choose a fitness activity that you've participated in. And then just like we talked about, we're going to break down our strengths and make sure that we're looking at, you know, give credit where credit is due and making sure that we are acknowledging what we're good at. You know, the whole point of reflection isn't to identify what we're good at and feel pants about it. You know, we're not trying to make ourselves feel worse. We're trying to, you know, encourage ourselves and keep moving, but do it in the most realistic and effective way possible, I guess you could say. So we want to make sure that we're aware of our strengths and what are we good at, you know. Again, with me thinking outside the box, coming back to swimming, for example. I used to train. I used to swim. I used to do scuba diving with my uncle, who was always my buddy, because you do scuba diving with a buddy. Now he had he worked on a construction site. He was very physically strong, and he had just like ridiculously powerful legs and calves. So when he was swimming, he was really sort of flying along at a decent speed, and sometimes quite hard to keep up with, actually. But because he wasn't really doing much cardiovascular fitness and he wasn't doing much to improve his endurance, he would tire out quite quickly. So he would slow down. And there was actually some dives where he would be knackered and he would need to get out of the water and go back to the boat or whatever it was, while I still had half a tank of oxygen left, and I could join another buddy pair and make a 3, or I could go with the diving instructor for a little bit longer. I remember there was one dive that we did in Egypt where like we were just getting battered by the current. We were getting absolutely nailed all over the place by this current. We were trying to see these particular things, but the current was so strong. Like you had guys like grabbing all the stuff on the sea floor, so we weren't getting battered along the bottom. And I remember after about 15 minutes, my uncle and a couple of the older guys were both like, call that, we're going up, I'm absolutely paggered, you know. And then the instructor said to me, look, like, are you good? Like, do you need to go back? And I was like, oh, well, whatever, you know. So they were like, right, you stay with me, we'll stick together. You guys go back to the boat and we'll carry on and say a little bit more. And I got to see some pretty cool stuff. So I was, because I had that more endurance side of things, you know, that was my strength. I could go for a while. And of course, the fitter you are, in terms of endurance, the less oxygen you're using because you're not breathing as heavy. So your oxygen then lasts longer as well. So again, that really helped. So after that, my uncle made a point of working on his endurance, and I made a point of working on my strength, in my like the power in my legs and my kicking and stuff like that. So not necessarily to improve my performance, but again, that was thinking about, okay, what am I good at? What have I realized that I'm pretty good at in this area? And where can I improve just so I am better? Where can I be better? And I guess this could apply to anything in our lives, guys. Like I say, this could be relationships. What are you good at? I'm good at, potentially listening. I feel like I'm quite good at listening. Areas for improvement. Staying in touch and texting back, probably a lot of people would agree with. But, again, it tells you where you can work on stuff. And like I say, when it comes to your fitness, we've got all these different areas of fitness. And we're just trying to think about, what's important to me? Where would I like to, what do I enjoy doing? What do I feel like I'm good at? What do I feel is an area that I could improve, and how would improving in this one area affect me overall? How would it improve me overall? Potentially my ability to do the sport or the exercise, maybe. So really important box there, guys, when we're thinking about our strengths and our areas for improvement as well. So maybe think about some sports that you've maybe only tried once or twice. It could be the gym. If you tried it but it wasn't really for you, what were you good at? What did you feel was areas for improvement? What would you feel like you would need to improve to go back to the gym? Yeah, to get to that point. I've had people say to me, like, "Oh, yes, Rob, I'll come for personal training, but I want to get a little bit fitter first. I want to lose a little bit of weight." And for me, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse, That's what PT is there for. But I can totally understand the idea of, right, I feel as though these are my strengths, but I would like to work on these areas first. I'm all for that. If you want to work on something else, if you want to work on something that you consider to be a weakness, either with me or without me, like, fair play, go for it. I'm always going to encourage that. I feel as though we can become very dependent on our strengths and lean on our strengths too much and hope that they will just cover over the areas that do need improvement. Whereas, the best of the best identify areas for improvement, and they do actually work through them. Again, it was the same as an example that I like to use quite a lot is Michael Jordan, when he had that season where he was getting physically dominated on the ball. Players around him were stronger. Players on the other team were stronger, faster, fitter. So he essentially did this. He was like, okay, what am I good at? Very, very technically gifted and naturally athletic. He had the genetics. He had the genes, massive, massive hands. He could hold the basketball in one hand. Areas for improvement, though, he needed to be stronger. He needed to be more powerful. He needed to be faster. And he went away and he did these things in the off season, and he came back. And like they say, the rest is essentially history. He was kind of that following season went on to be regarded one of the greatest to ever do it, and one of the greatest of all time. And do you know what? It's something that I've thought about before. Like, where would his career have gone if he hadn't have taken those steps? If he hadn't have thought, right, I'm going to work on this, 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 and this. Again, you see it in football. You look at Cristiano Ronaldo when he first came to Man U. He was very technical. He was very gifted, but he wasn't the physical specimen that he is now. He didn't prioritize his fitness as much as he does now. He didn't look and think, okay, I need to be stronger to get for headers. I need more endurance so that my legs are still working in the 90th minute when the opposition's might not be, and my body's working how I need it to at that point. I need to be able to kick the ball right, rather than have tired legs give away underneath me because I'm tired. And stuff like that. I need to be stronger so I'm not getting muscled off the ball. And again, it all comes from this place of self-reflection. And guys, like I say, I feel as though it's really important and really handy skill to have and really handy sort of ability to have in not only looking at where we are strong and where we're confident, but where we can improve as well. You know, shining a light on those weak spots that I'm sure we would sooner shy away from. Okay then, guys. So then from there, pick one fitness activity and suggest 3 ways you could improve your performance in that activity. Yeah. So it might be, pardon me, for example, we could have, okay, so it might be the long jump. For the long jump, what do you need to, what could you improve? What could you improve to get better at the long jump? What might you need to be good at the long jump? You're talking speed for your run up, and probably power for your jump, for your explosive jump at the end of the run, where, you know, I can't remember off the top of my head whether you jump with 1 foot, whether you jump with 2 feet. You need to get better at doing whatever that one thing is. You know, jumping on 1 leg, jumping on 2 legs. Again, a lot of the basketballers will do drills where they jump with both legs, and then drills where they jump with each leg individually, because there will be times where you need to make a jump to get up for a shot on 1 leg for whatever reason. So covering those bases. So there's a couple there, guys. Thinking about swimming. What could you improve to get better at swimming? You know, lifting weights, running. How could you get better at those things? How could you improve your performance in those activities? And certainly from a fitness point of view, you know, we're not going to include things like, how do I get better at rock climbing, for example, better footwear. You know, I'm going to get better climbing, that'll give us more grip. Yes, it would, and it links into talking about those different sort of adjustments that we can make, and making sure that we've got the right equipment. But from this point of view, we're thinking about our own abilities, our own weaknesses, and our own strengths as well, guys. So plenty to think about there, plenty to keep you, plenty to have a little muddle over the next week while you're working through finishing this booklet up, and before our next session. And we'll have 2 left after the day. Off the top of my head, in fact, let's have a look at what we're doing next week before we wrap up for the day. So next week we're going to be researching sport and leisure different options, and we're going to be actually designing our own fitness class. Yeah. So or you are going to be designing your own fitness class. So something a little bit unique, something. Turn that light on, it's so grey and dingy today. Yeah, so a way of making our fitness session be a little bit unique. What would the benefit be to the people that turn up to your class? And like I said, hang on, bear with us 2 seconds. What would the focus be as well? What would the focus be on that session? What would you, like I say, what would you like the members to get out of it? You know, does it improve their strength, their endurance, flexibility, a mixture of a couple? So we can start to have a little bit of think about that, actually, guys. You know, if you get this workbook wrapped up and you want to sort of get ahead of the curve, we can have a little bit of a think about, like, okay, you know, what classes might appeal to me, you know, that aren't out there. You know, what would I go to? What would need to be a little bit different? You know, there's so many different classes out there. We've talked about a few already. We'll get a chance to talk about some more next week as well, while we are thinking about our fitness session that we're going to be putting together next week as well. So yeah, lots to think about over the next week. If you want to make a head start on that, guys, then by all means do, even if it is just having a little bit of a think and racking your brain and thinking, you know, what ideas you might want to go with. Start to get a couple of ideas down. And yeah, we will be back next week to do that session as well. We'll be the same time next week. We'll be 10 or 12, providing Zoom doesn't have an absolute hissy fit on us again. So yeah, we'll be back next week with that one. And like I say, talking about thinking about different fitness classes that already exist, and you know what we could do to put our own together. And that was pretty much everything that we needed to cover today. We've had a good look through the workbook. You guys should all be pretty confident with what you're doing in there. If you're not, again, always just drop me an email, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out, and of course point you in the right direction and get you moving as well. So as always, guys, please don't forget to just take 30 seconds or so to fill in that survey. It's information that we need for your paperwork, and at the same time, your feedback's always important, those guys. So yeah, pages 6 and 8 of your taking part in exercise and fitness workbook, and before next session. As always, guys, I've got this slide up, so if you forget what it is that you should be doing, you can very easily come back to this PowerPoint, this presentation and this YouTube video, come straight to the end, and you can see what it is that needs doing for next week. You've not got to sit through the whole 2 hours or try and like scrub through 2 hours and try and find the bit where Rob mentioned what the homework was. So yeah, pages 6 and 8 in your taking part in exercise and fitness workbook before next week. And like I say, we will be back next Wednesday to look at setting up our own, or start to get the seeds in place for our own session plan and our own unique fitness session as well. As always, guys, my email is in the description box. I'm just going to double check now before I make a liar of myself, but it usually is, yes. So in that little description box under the YouTube video, we've got across the workbook. My email address is there if you need it. The link to today's workout video as well. So the workout video I've sort of thrown at you for this week to do. It was one of the tougher ones that I felt it was one of the tougher ones that I did. But again, give it a go. There's always an alternative for different exercises. You know, hopefully we're feeling up to a little bit of a challenge by this point if we've been doing, you know, a little bit of exercise each week since the course started. Again, you know, it's all exercises that are done for time. So, you know, it's 30 seconds, for example. You don't need to do 60 burpees or 60 squats. If you like, do as many as you can, rest when you need to rest. And then just each time you do it, we're trying to get a little bit more into those working sections or into those sets. But, you know, that's the way that I've done it that way. It's not do 50 of these, 100 of these. It's all for time. So you can just sort of work through at your own pace, work as hard in those 30 seconds as you want to and as you can. Yeah, so don't be put off by that. You don't need to keep up with my pace on the screen. You don't need to worry about what I'm doing so much, other than, you know, I'm giving you a visual representation of what I'm asking you to do, really, so it can help with your form and your technique. But other than that, guys, yeah, definitely check out this week's video, see what you think. If you're fancying a little bit of a change of pace, maybe it's more of a stretch or some chair-based exercise where we can do them sat down, you know. Maybe it's getting a little bit colder, obviously outside, our arthritis is kicking in a little bit more, or maybe it's just we're having some aches and pains from getting moving again because it's been so long, you know. So again, that link will, as always, take you straight to our YouTube playlist, and you can just go through, you can pick whatever takes your fancy from there, be it abs, upper body, lower body, more cardio based, AMRAP, which is as many reps as possible in a small amount of time. But again, there's something on there for everybody. So check that out, guys. Even if today's workout that I've sort of attached to today's session isn't what you're feeling today. Yeah. And like I said, all the links to our social media is in there as well. But yeah, guys, the link to the survey, if you click that link to the survey, it'll take you straight to the survey where you need to put in your answers. And then what you can do, in fact, let's have a look. Yeah, so yeah, if you can just put in your put your answers onto that survey, it'll all just come straight back to us. So there's no worry about, okay, I've got to download this, I've got to fill it in, I've got to then save it and remember where I've saved it, and then I've got to send it back to Rob. Like, there's none of that at all. Just click that link, it'll take you straight to the survey where you will be able to like I say, you'll be able to just put your answers there, and then you'll be able to just straight back to us. It'll come straight back to us, and you don't need to worry about any other faff on or anything like that. So yeah, any issues with that, again, reach out, give me a shout, let me know, and we will get that sorted for you. Yeah. Okay, guys, cool. So we'll wrap it up there then. We've absolutely shot through that this morning. But of course, as always, thank you for watching in. If you've logged in and watch along live, and of course, to everybody watching later on in the week, I hope you enjoy this session. I hope you've had a good session. And as always, let me know if you get stuck with anything, or there's anything that you're not so sure on. As always, everybody, stay safe. Look after yourselves. Look after everybody around you, and we'll be back to do this all again next week. Oh, while I remember, actually, anybody who hasn't done their one-to-one Zoom presentation to deliver their health and well-being topic, again, drop me an email, let me know, and we'll get those booked in, hopefully for over the next week. Get those boxed off, get them done, and then it's just one less thing to have to wrap up at the end of the course. So, of course, we've got 2 weeks left to go, and like I say, it's a good chance at the minute to, maybe if you are feeling on top of things, maybe, go back and revisit a couple of sessions if you can, if your presentation's done, or maybe just spend a little bit of time finishing up those presentations before you start to think about your own fitness session, which is what I mentioned we're going to be doing next week. Think about getting them presentations wrapped up first, get them wrapped up to the point where you're happy, get them delivered, and then you can do your presentation and we can go from there. But just having a little bit of a think in your mind what you might go with already, it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't necessarily hurt to be prepared when we get there. Right, guys, we will leave it there. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your day or your evening if you're watching later on in the week or later on in the day. Have a good week, have a good weekend, and again, depending on when you're watching it, and we'll be back here next Wednesday to do it all again, guys. Brand new session and some more interesting topics to dive into. So I'll see everybody back here next week. Take care, stay safe, and have a good one. Catch you later, guys. Thanks again.